been there to help the young players like Aaron Judge and Sanchez, and even Bird to a certain extent to keep calm when things aren't going that well.
Singy, you live here in Baltimore. You follow the offseason for all the teams, for the Red Sox and Sale, and for Toronto, what they lost in Encarnacion and picked up in Morales, and obviously where the Orioles are. Just some thoughts about the Orioles and the Orioles' future here. I mean, it feels like the last 5 years they've been relevant again. I think a lot of fans aren't going back to the ballpark for a million different reasons that I'm sure I'm going to be talking about. By the way, Light City's beautiful, Singy, when you get down here. Make sure you're checking that out while you're here this weekend as well. The offseason, I mean, they have not addressed the pitching. This was not a good offseason for them. It wasn't acquisition, winning-oriented. I look at the team and I say, and I said this about the Blue Jays too, they look like they're not as good as last year, and that's never a good feeling as a fan.
No, when you're going into the season and you've already got your number one pitcher hurting in Tillman, that's not good. He was hurting towards the end of last year, and I think they thought that over a winter's rest would cure it. And all of a sudden he's out. The Red Sox are dealing with the same thing with David Price being out. These are two of the best pitchers in the division, and they're not going to be performing at least for maybe a month or maybe even longer. So this is going to be interesting to see what happens. I think the team that does the best, and it's usually this way, it's the team that stays out of the training room the best, and they keep their players on the field, and that really helps.
In the modern era, it's so much about these young players and the Birds and the Sanchez's, especially if you don't have money, if you're Tampa or if you're one of the smaller markets. For the Orioles, the farm system seems to, over the last few years, whether it's shipping Arrieta off or shipping Rodriguez off or Davies off at trading deadline times, the Yankees have gone the other way with this. And I think it's hard for the fans to say, well, let's look at what's going on at A-ball and double-A ball and triple-A ball. It's not the way Yankees fans are built. But I think in the long term, the Yankees have, it's been a long time coming to supply and stock up that minor league system. There's something to be said for what the Yankees have in the powder in the keg right now, and what the Orioles have really been exposed as lacking. And I know the Red Sox made the big move to bring in the arm, and they gave away the farm to Chicago. I mean, that's really the game in baseball, and that's the gamble and the riverboat gambler and the risk. It's like a craps table when you're dealing these young players, but the Yankees smell really good at that point. The Orioles don't feel like they have much coming up through the system to be hopeful about. It sort of really is about Scope and Jones and Machado and these guys getting on the field and going to post this year.
Yeah, there were people would tell you maybe the Orioles window is closing a little bit if they don't get it done with these guys. I mean, Manny's a free agent after next year, the same with Adam Jones, Tillman as well. So they got some big players who might be testing the free agent market. Now, last year it was a little different for the Yankees than I've ever seen before. At the trade deadline, they traded Andrew Miller, they traded Aroldis Chapman, but they got back a haul of young players. Baseball America and other measuring sticks of farm systems says the Yankees are either number 1 or 2, along with the Atlanta Braves, because of the young players that they picked up. And I will tell you, Nestor, in spring training this year, the best crop of young players I've ever seen in the Yankee spring training. And they have this kid, Gleyber Torres, who they got from the Cubs in the Chapman deal, who is just 20 years old. He hit .460 in spring training with a couple of home runs, a few doubles, and he is just 20, but he plays like a veteran who's been in the big leagues 4 or 5 years. And he's not going to be in the minor leagues long. When Gregorius got hurt, there were people who wanted Torres to come to the big leagues, but the Yankees said, no, not yet. He's not played much above Double-A. He's going to start the year at Double-A, but as you know, you can come to the big leagues from Double-A. So I think that if Gregorius' injury goes beyond into May, you might see Torres, if he gets off to a good start, in the big leagues. Ronald Torres, who's playing shortstop now, is more or less a backup type player, and although he's capable of doing a good job over a period of time, not a lengthy period of time, because then your faults start to show up. But Torres has got the job for now, and actually hit the first home run of the season for the Yankees. So all 5'7" of them hit this home run, and he was greeted at home plate by Aaron Judge, who was on base, all 6'7" of them. So you had the long and the short of it. right at home plate there for the Yankees.
I love the 5'7" guys. Those are my favorite. They've always been my favorite. The Freddie Pateks of the world for all of us. Ken Singleton joining us here. You can follow him out on Twitter at 29alltime. And if you run into a guy in Hunt Valley or Cockeysville or Timonium getting a coffee, you'd say, damn, that looks like Ken Singleton. Well, it's because it is Ken Singleton. He's also doing his golf tournament. Last thing for you on the actual baseball side. You're sitting here and waxing about this young group of guys in Tampa and all that. Dude, you've been doing this a long time in New York. When's the last time you actually went to Tampa and gave any attention at all to what was going on in the backfields down there? You never had to do that in New York. You always knew who the core guys were going to be. Now you're looking at it and thinking, well, 18, 19, what are the Yankees going to look like? And I think we all realize the goal is to bring on a Harper, Machado, Trout, or whatever. But there's a crop of those kids back on the fields that you're talking about, not just for this year but in the future. And that's just something that is like a foreign language, I think, to Yankees fans, right?
Well, you're talking about players like Clint Frazier. I mentioned Torres, Justice Sheffield's another one. They've got several others. Dustin Fowler's another player who's pretty good in spring training that I saw. Billy McKinney was another outfielder who looked pretty strong. Miguel Andujar, a third baseman, looked pretty good. They've got several players. Some pitchers that I mentioned. Chad Green, he's got a chance to be in the big leagues this year. But they've got some others. This is going to be fun to watch. Certainly different for Yankee fans, but I think what they're hoping, and I'm sure the rest of the division is not hoping for, they want to develop another core 4 or 5 players that they had when there was Jeter and Mariano and Pettit and Posada, and you toss Bernie Williams in there, and that's what they're hoping to develop again, a long run of successful players who can take them to the championships that they won. I mean, 5 times with that group, and I got to cover them. They were amazing. The one year when they won the 125 games, I did 100 games on TV that year. We're talking about 1998. I did 100 games on TV, and they won 72 of them. So I felt like the weatherman in San Diego.
All I remember about that was pulling out a Jack Murphy lot onto Friars Road and watching the fireworks as I made my way to the airport to fly to Vegas.
I did. Well, it was a 4-game sweep.
Well, 1 minute it was Hell's Bells, and here comes Trevor Hoffman. The next minute it's a 4-game sweep, and here, 1 minute Tony Gwynn's hitting one off the, off the left field or right field facade at Yankee Stadium, and I blinked, and the next thing you know, I'm in Vegas, and the Yankees are celebrating again. So.
That was Scott Brocious' World Series. He really came to the. I remember the one game. I think it was the 3rd win, not the 4th. But they bring in Trevor Hoffman to face Brocious with 2 men on.
I remember.
And, he hit it straight over the center field wall. The Yankees took the lead, and, of course, they went on to win the next game, and that was it. So, and then the next year, they swept the Braves in 4 games. So that was, from my standpoint, you can't cover a team much better than that.
Well, it was 20 years ago. We're not here to talk about the past, Singleton. We're here to talk about the present and the future. Hey, you got your Cool Kids campaign. I know this is near and dear, and it's close, and it's coming up. It's June 24th to the 26th. Tell everybody about this and your background on this. And I know you and Chris have been putting this thing together forever. And I know we lost another Belanger to cancer here this year, who was a dear friend of yours and mine. And obviously with my wife and leukemia, it's all, it all hits home, Singy. I mean, we're getting older. Yeah. We got to pitch back in, and you've done a great job of that, man.
I appreciate it, Nestor. Thanks for asking. Yes, the Cool Kids campaign, my golf tournament, this will be the 9th year that we're going to do this. We raise money to help kids and their families who are dealing with cancer. All the proceeds go to the kids and the families. Services that the Cool Kids provide are all free. They have a learning center. When kids are going through their treatments, they have a tendency to fall behind in their studies. So there's a learning center where the kids can come in, and we have volunteer student teachers from Towson University, and also retired teachers come in and help them catch up with their studies. We have a magazine that's sent out to kids all over the country, Cool Kids Magazine. We also have gift baskets that we send out to kids with the logo Cancer Fears Me. You're right about Robbie Belanger. We're going to miss him dearly. Robbie, Mark's son, who, with Chris Federico, started the Cool Kids in honor of Mark, who passed away, my former teammate from cancer. And this winter, unfortunately, Robbie passed away from prostate cancer, and way too young. I've known him ever since he was 6 years old, and that one really hurt. It's going to hurt forever. To see a young man in his prime with two young, beautiful daughters and a beautiful wife pass away from cancer. Nestor, I don't know about you, but I'm getting fed up with this disease. I mean, it just affects too many people.
Well, it's been 3 years of my wife's battle, and we lost Rob. And, I go back to Rob with Burst of Silence and his band back in the 90s. He would come in and sit in the studio with me. I found all the old tapes. We'd sit around and talk to rock stars, and Eddie Lauer would come over and jam. And, so we had a whole music baseball thing going on as well. So, hey, man, we'll send everybody out. It's coolkidscampaign.org if you want to help singing. By the way, what the hell? You playing Family Feud? I'm on your page here. I'm like, you guys are having too much fun for a charity event, right?
Yeah, we did that last year. Keith Mills was kind enough to be the MC, and he did a fantastic job. Everybody had a great time. That was at the Boomy Temple where we have our pairings party dinner.
Well, it lives forever on the internet. Anybody who wants to watch it, they can watch it right on the front page. So if you want to have a laugh, why not? Hey, great having you on. Welcome home. You never leave. I know all that stuff. We'll be bugging you throughout the course of the season. And, hey, if the Yankees stink this year, don't think I'm not going to rub it in.
That's all right, Nestor. Somebody's got to finish down the pike, but maybe they'll surprise you, too.
It's not going to be us again. Hey, Singy, I picked them for 78 wins, the Orioles. I think the Yankees are going to be surprisingly decent this year for the pedigree of player they have. I'm very worried about the Orioles, although, hey, seeing Bundy and Gosman throw it the way they have earlier in the week, it does pick your chin up. I am worried about the long term of the bullpen. You know what I mean?
Yeah, those for the Orioles to be successful, those two young guys, those two pitchers, we're going to have to step it up, especially if Tillman's going to be out for a while. Both of them, and they have the ability to do so. I think they're gaining the experience, especially Gosman. I think that he's going to win 15-plus games. All they have to do is give him just some run support, and he has to keep his pitch count down early in games. That's one thing that bugs him, that he gets his pitch count up there, he goes too many 3-ball counts. But he's got the stuff to win.
Singy, we'll see you over the weekend around town, and then we'll send everybody out to the coolkidscampaign.org. Always great having you on, my friend. Be well. Keep the faith.
Nestor, you're the best. Thank you.
Appreciate you. There he goes, Ken Singleton, 29 all-time, out on Twitter. And, of course, number one in your hearts, and number one in the order back in the mid-'70s as well, hitting a bunch of bombs. Love Singy, especially when he went up there and went all rain delay, pulling all the rocks out of the batter's box. I remember it all. I remember more about 1976 than I do about 2016. You can find me out in the Bayou Toyota Audio Vault 24 hours a day from anywhere in the world on your mobile device by downloading the TuneIn radio app. We do come in crystal clear from anywhere in the world, including New York, where Ken Singleton does games for the Yes Network. You can also find our morning newspaper in your email inbox every morning at 7 a.m. That's brought to you by Planet Fitness and PlanetFitness.com. Last but never least, breaking news happens first on the WNST Tech Service. That is brought to you by Coons Ford of Security Boulevard. We'll get that news out in the news of Timmy Jernigan, and we got the NFL Draft and the Liars Luncheon, and who knows, Nick Mangold before it's all over with. Last but never least, you can always find me, nasty at WNST.net. I am a very available individual. Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Snapchat, Instagram, streaming live on our Facebook as well as our YouTube WNSTV channel. We are WNST.net, AM 1570 and WNST Towson, Baltimore, and we never stop talking Baltimore sports.